Hi, welcome back to Cubs and Culture for January 19th, 2018. Finishing up our review or analysis of La La Land. Let me very quickly say about the music is wonderful. It's sweet and sentimental and touching, and it's a nice sort of it's jazzy without being really overly like Kenny G smooth jazz, but also not sort of like the hardcore stuff you get in Whiplash. So again, it feels like so even the music sort of feels like it's in conversation with Whiplash in a way. City of Stars is my favorite song. It's sort of the love duet between them. Anyway, I'm of the opinion that if you took this screenplay and musical score and gave it to another director, it still what result would be a pretty good, very engaging movie. But it's really Chanel's, how you say his name's direction that elevates it from a very good movie to an all-time great musical. Because I would put this on par with, again, sort of like American in Paris or Sound of Music, or in some ways like or West Side Story, or Oliver, all the sort of really good, great musicals from times past, or even something like Gigi, which is a kind of a terrible movie in terms of sort of, I mean, Gigi, Best Picture winner from '56 or something. Also had an influence on La La Land, because it's like one of the things I like about the direction in this film is there's times in which he's obviously recalling the references to, like, there's certain shots in the last sequence, which is the fantasy sequence, that it's almost directly from An American in Paris, and then sort of there's some French films where he steals some borrows or whatever you want to use for other like them floating in the planetarium, which is both Rebel Without a Cause and then also a French film, which the name escapes me at the moment. But in any case, so on one hand it works really as a good homage, but the other sort of thing is in musicals, the way in which the musical scenes are staged are like sort of like there's been so many musicals, and it's really sort of hard to find new ways of staging them. And Seychelles does a really good job of making all the different musical sequences feel unique unto themselves within the movie, and they also sort of elevate into a sort of a fantasy idealized world, because that's the music. That's the function of the music, is to represent their sort of idealized romanticism, because or the ideal. Which is why at the end the song, she gets her part by singing a song, because that's her living out her ideal. But anyway, so like just to use a quick example, the first, I don't know, 5-6 minutes of the movie is apparently one shot. I do not know. Like, with digital technology, you can now cheat at this sort of thing, so it's somewhat easier to do. But it seems to be, because it's a song where everyone on the highway starts singing, and it comes across, because it's a single shot, both, like, it feels very much, almost like a Scorsese tracking shot in, like, Goodfellas, but it's overlaid with sort of bright colors of MGM musicals with jazz music. So the direction, it feels very much, like you could, like it feels like, I feel like I'm saying Chanel is imitating people, but no, but it's not that. It feels like a director who is well versed in his material and subconsciously letting the influences make some of his artistic choices, and it utterly works like that. So it really feels, especially in musical sequences, and the way in which the camera is moving and cross-cutting everything like that, it has a very strong voice, and I can't imagine. And so, like, there's a lot of like just bold choices in sort of the musical sequences. Another sort of one is in the second song, they end up with in a pool at one point for the singing, or then the other sort of thing about in musicals and generally in movies. Because in the way, this is one of my problems with Moulin Rouge, is that it doesn't know when to stop and take a break. Chazelle very cleverly knows when to cut the black and just highlight the performance. So, like, the way in which he gets in and out of the fantasy sequence is having Seb, in one single spotlight, and then you just do a zoom in on him, and then you zoom out, and all of a sudden it's this musical sequence, fantasy musical sequence. And then even then, there's parts of it which are visually very loud, and then another part of it is sort of told in silhouette, where it's mostly just black on white. So Chanel, as a director, does a lot to play with and vary like the rhythm of the visual language of the film, where it comes across very much like his film, but it feels like his sort of personality has been defined by all these other great great movie musicals. And so there's that. And now this might sound funny, or I'm damning with faint praise, but I mean it completely. The best part of this movie is the colors. Because it feels very much like 1950s, like Technicolor, but then also it has a very great softness, and the color palette of the film is absolutely gorgeous. And every single song sort of has, because there's also sort of, because it's a time, like it begins in spring, then summer, then winter, then summer, then fall. It begins in winter, then went to the summer, then it goes to fall. It's sort of like the beats in the story. So the color palette shifts. So like there's times in which it feels like wow, like this is really red, and then it's striking in that way. But then another time when it's like sort of more romantic. During like Shooting of Stars, this knife, if I can be totally gay for a moment, this nice mauve and lavender, sort of skyline color that all feeds into the sort of romanticism of the film. And then, of course, the colors can also sort of tell the story. So, like, going back to the fight scene I was talking about, they're in their apartment in this striking, very almost like citrus or lime-ish green, very soft, almost pastel green. That's sort of the striking visual for that apartment. But then also it's a candlelight dinner, and he's cooking. So there's also, so the first time you see it is the City of Stars song, and it's just this backdrop of romantic lime-ish green. But then during the fight scene, it starts off with that, but then he very slowly, as the director, introduces the red from the candle and the cooking. So it feels like fire is invading this sort of greenish space. It's amazingly well directed in terms of staging and playing around with just the visual language of film. It's very effortlessly cinematic. Okay, I feel like I'm sort of just gushing now, being a stereotypical homosexual, but or gay person. I'm talking about myself, so whatever. So that's my review of La La Land. I also want to talk very briefly about the two central performances. Both Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are great in this movie. Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, always very charismatic, and he sings well, dances well, blah 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 blah. And he makes for a great romantic. His acting's he's unpretentiously pretentious as Sebastian, in that the character himself is a little bit pretentious, but the performance, like, it's committed, like he's authentically sort of a jackass. Like he's sort of authentically a person who's really too much into jazz, if I could put the point like that. Emma Stone's performance especially in the scenes in which Mia are auditioning, are amazing because it's really like because she's acting, um, and you have to see sort of a progression of her as an actress, where at the end during the song audition, you feel like yes, she finally is. She's like her talent has arrived. She's going to get this part, but and then in the earlier scenes, she can't come across as sort of like a hopelessly bad actress. Something like what you would have for Roxy Hart in Chicago. You have to have a person like it's like so she when she's playing Mia, Mia's not acting, she's getting naturalist and engaging in. But when she's playing Mia as acting, it comes across as not like as a person or as an actress who hasn't fully arrived yet for the most part, and that's really hard to do. So, excuse me. At least if this film didn't get Best Picture, at least she got Best Actress. Okay, so that's going to be it for right now. Hey, Cubs and Culture out. Good day.